Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 91. 100-Year Promise. I do not believe that you won't be able to obtain it, Li Jinglong said, facing Yang Qiuzhong. He was holding onto the wall for support, adjusting the inner flow of his breath as he barely managed to stand up. Not being able to get it is as simple as that, Yang Qiuzhong said simply, with a shrug. I tried it once and failed. Now, you've added a seal with the heart lamp, so unless Hung Jun is willing to change into a devil of his own accord, there's no way. I do, however, already have 3 devil seeds, so I don't need to depend on the divine devil of Mahamayuri to become a devil. What harm is there then in telling you the truth? 2 seeds, Li Jinglong said seriously. Very good, Yang Qiuzhong said coldly, his expression changing. In Dunhuang, you destroyed the heart devil that I used one of my own souls to painstakingly create, and I haven't yet settled the debt with you for that. Li Jinglong, however, began to smile, and he said, Chancellor Yang, or should I say, Your Majesty the Yao King, these words are quite amusing. I haven't gone to seek you out, yet here you are, coming to seek me out instead. With a flick of his sleeve, Yang Qiuzhong replied, How about I offer up all 3 of my devil seeds instead, for free, to this little friend next to you, and help him become a devil, how's that? Li Jinglong's expression instantly changed, and Yang Qiuzhong continued, With your skills, being able to seal away the 3,000 nightmares of the world was already just sheer luck. If you had to do it for a moment longer, your heart lamp would have been utterly destroyed, young man. Having confidence in yourself is good, but do not be too arrogant. Li Jinglong replied darkly, There will come a day where you will not be able to collect back those souls that have been released. What bargain do you want to strike? Yang Qiuzhong was silent for a long while as he studied Li Jinglong. A long while later, with a faint hint of appreciation in his eyes, he replied solemnly, Marquis of Yadan, you are much more intelligent than how I imagined. The second heart devil is with you, Li Jinglong said, as light as a breeze. Is my guess correct? Yang Qiuzhong didn't respond. Very acutely, Hung Jun realized something, and he said quietly, What Lu Su had in him once upon a time were the 3,000 nightmares of the world. In that case, what is in yours? Yang Qiuzhong's expression instantly changed, and Li Jinglong knew that Hung Jun's words had touched upon a key point. Each of the Black Jiao, Xiayu's 3 Hun had turned into a heart devil. The first one, borrowing the spirit of Lu Su's white deer, drew upon the nightmares of the world. The second one was in his own body, so the resentment and pain of the world that it absorbed definitely had a source. And the third, if their guess was not wrong, was in Lushan. Naturally, Yang Qiuzhong wouldn't discuss how to refine a heart devil with them. He merely replied, Help me retrieve the 3rd heart devil. In Lushan's body. Li Jinglong said slowly. He thought, Finally we've managed to grasp Yang Qiuzhong's weakness. That's correct, Yang Qiuzhong replied, nodding in a refined manner. 10 years ago, I used my 3 Hun to create 3 great heart devils. One of them, I handed to that bastard, yet unexpectedly, Lushan used an artifact to cut off my connection to that 3rd Hun, drawing power from the world for his own use. The longer things dragged on, the more uncontrolled he grew, so I now need someone to go kill him and release the heart devil trapped within Lushan's body. Li Jinglong glanced towards Hung Jun. Hung Jun's only thought was that this entire series of events was absolutely preposterous. He had evidently come to kill Xiaoyu, and not being able to was one thing, but now Xiaoyu was asking them to help him carry out a task? Li Jinglong replied, To the exorcism department, you should know, whether it be Mara or Xiaoyu, you all are opponents we need to get rid of. Chancellor Yang, where exactly does your self-confidence come from, that you think I'm willing to strike up this bargain with you? Yang Qiuzhong smiled, and he said, Marquis of Yadan, if you'll allow me to speak freely, this time you gave me no choice but to show myself. If it wasn't for your unnecessary foolhardy actions with the royal mausoleum's case, how would I have put myself at such risk? Li Jinglong replied earnestly, this is praising me too highly. If An Lushan wants to find an excuse to deal with you, what does that have to do with the exorcism department? That day, I came in person to visit, originally because I believed that you would understand, Yang Qiuzhong said coldly. With your skills, and with everyone attacking at once, catching a gu now should have been no problem. Hung Jun. When Li Jinglong saw that he had been seen through, he didn't continue putting up that facade anymore. He replied earnestly, that's right, and it's exactly because of that that I was able to force you into such a situation where you have no path ahead of you, and you needed to show yourself in person to deal with the problem. You don't know, Yang Qiuzhong said, suddenly getting closer. That posture grew even more overbearing, and he enunciated each word clearly, but even if I want to kill someone, I still have to find an excuse. Those that have piqued my interest, however, I won't kill. But in An Lushan's life, there is only destruction and slaughter. Right now, both you and I have no road left to walk, and we must join forces to get rid of him. This is a mistake of your own making, Li Jinglong said. Yang Qiuzhong narrowed his eyes and studied Li Jinglong, before finally saying, even if it is, what does that change? Li Jinglong replied solemnly, I can help you retrieve the third devil Hun, but I imagine you also know what conditions I will propose. Yang Qiuzhong watched Li Jinglong with an unreadable expression. Why do you wholeheartedly want to become Mara? Hung Jun suddenly asked. My dad was so resistant, to the point where me and my mom, but you. That's why I changed my mind, Yang Qiuzhong said solemnly. Li Jinglong. Hung Jun's breathing quickened. Yang Qiuzhong began to slowly pace amongst those high walls, and he continued earnestly, I cannot make good on your conditions, Li Jinglong. But when a seller demands an outrageously high price, a buyer always haggles for a dirt cheap price. I can wait for you for another 100 years. Saying this, he looked towards Hung Jun, and Hung Jun immediately understood. Yang Qiuzhong was willing to wait until they died. To Xiaoyu, this kind of great Yaogwai that had a lifespan of 1,000, or even thousands of years, 100 years in the human realm was probably akin to 10 or so years in a human's lifetime. What if I live past 100 years? Hung Jun asked coldly. You won't. Yang Qiuzhong studied Hung Jun, a smile filled with meaning rising to his lips. The offspring of Yao and mortals have lifespans akin to mortals. This is something that the heavens have decided, and you have no way to possess both remarkable power and higher intelligence. Perhaps I will not need to wait for 100 years. As for what preparations you all are willing to leave, that can be however you wish. Pushing back this battle that is destined to happen is also not an impossibility. Li Jinglong glanced at Hung Jun, as an odd sense of relief welled up in Hung Jun's heart. In reality, even he didn't know how long he would live for. Chongming had never told him before, but this question was one that he had thought about more than once. After 100 years, Li Jinglong would have long since passed, and perhaps at that time the gratitude and grudges of the past would no longer be important to him. However, what he could foresee was that after Hung Jun and Li Jinglong died, Yang Qiuzhong would come to retrieve his devil seed. You must leave Chang'an, Li Jinglong said darkly. That is inevitable, Yang Qiuzhong said solemnly. After all, you're humans. Emperor has already reached an age where he is not but a candle guttering in the wind. Chang'an is no longer my era, and after he dies, I will take Yahuan away. Hung Jun felt a great deal of suspicion inside. Was Yang Qiuzhong actually willing to let go of everything that he had already obtained? There were only two possibilities here: 1, he was lying to them, or 2, if they were unable to retrieve the heart devil in An Lushan's body, Yang Qiuzhong wouldn't be able to live for long. Hung Jun wanted to say something more, but Li Jinglong placed a hand on his shoulder, thinking deeply for a moment. You do not have much time to consider, Yang Qiuzhong said. Li Jinglong responded slowly, if I not today, then I'm afraid that after I die, I will not be able to face those wronged souls of the mortals that once died to your hands. This is war, Yang Qiozhong said, studying Li Jinglong. It is not an assassination, Marquis of Yadan, who views evil itself as his enemy. The battle between humans and Yao has lasted for a long time, and long before you or I came into this world, and how many millions of Yaos have died at the hands of mortals. Hung Jun kept feeling like Yang Qiozhong was lying to them, yet he couldn't find any cracks in his armor. In the end, Li Jinglong finally, gently, spat out a sentence. Deal. I'll give you 20 days' time. Upon hearing that, Yang Qiozhong flicked a sleeve, and the wall around them dismantled itself. In that time, the exorcism department will be under investigation, and your identity will be that of a criminal at large. Saying this, he turned his head back once more, studying Li Jinglong. An Lushan has an artifact that protects the heart devil seed in his body. As long as you can get him to undo that artifact, I can successfully call the third Hun back. Do not act rashly, Li Jinglong, you cannot destroy it. At the same time, Yang Qiozhong casually drew out a sigil, which was the same sigil as the one the exorcism department had once studied. In that instant, there was a wing, and Li Jinglong and Hung Jun were both teleported away. Li Jinglong appeared in the street of the alley out back of the exorcism department, but Hung Jun had vanished completely. Where's Hung Jun? Hung Jun! Li Jinglong immediately shouted. Yang Qiozhong's voice sounded in the alley, replying, relax, I will not keep him hostage. Half a shishan later, I will return him. A myriad of colors flashed before Hung Jun's eyes, and he found that he had appeared in a luxurious courtyard. Cherry blossoms drifted through the courtyard, but Li Jinglong had disappeared. When he stood up and looked around at his surroundings, he saw Yang Qiozhong slowly walking towards him, and he immediately asked angrily, where's Li Jinglong? Let's have a chat, Yang Qiozhong said lightly. That overbearing tone had already disappeared from his voice, and it was as if he was simply another one of his father's old friends. If you want to go, I'll send you away right now. Hung Jun breathed deeply. Yang Qiozhong walked into the flower garden and sat down, his hands pressed against his knees. He called out, and not long after, a housekeeper came by. Yang Qiozhong ordered them to bring on some desserts. They were the pastries that Hung Jun usually liked to eat, along with a cup of tea. Do you still remember your dad? Yang Qiozhong remarked. At this moment, Hung Jun's heart was filled with complicated emotions. Chongming had given him an order before, which was to kill Xiaoyu so that the Phoenix tribe could once again reside in Chang'an. But slowly, he himself had also found that in front of Xiaoyu, even with the addition of Li Jinglong, he was not anywhere close to being his opponent. That was one thing, but after he came to Chang'an, he also slowly realized that many things were not as simple as he had once thought they were. No longer did he have the idea that black was simply black and white was simply white. You're lying to us, Hung Jun stated coldly. All this time, what you've wanted is merely the devil seed in my body. Nonsense, Yang Qiozhong said. You think I would instead choose to help Li Jinglong uphold good and defeat evil by getting rid of Yao and protecting the righteous? Hung Jun slowly shook his head. I won't fall for your tricks. When you were small, Yang Qiozhong said, I tried to persuade your dad to hand you over to me. Did you think that the person who went around trying to capture you and your mother was me? Hung Jun. You are not the same as them, Yang Qiozhong said, his eyebrows furrowed deeply as he studied Hung Jun. You are Kong Xian's son, Chongming, and Qing Xiang's adopted son. Half of your blood that runs in your veins is Yao, Kong Hung Jun. Why are you so persistent? Upon seeing me, do you not feel even a shred of kinship? Zhen was born as the king of all Yao tribes, but in front of you, am I even lesser than that old Li Longji? Hung Jun had no words to respond to that. Yang Qiozhong gestured for him to eat the pastries, saying, if I wanted to poison you, I would have done so a long time ago. How many Minzi Ming Ao have you eaten? When Hung Jun thought about it, that was true, but he still didn't touch it. Instead, he replied, I won't eat it. I'm not afraid that you're trying to poison me, but rather, I never eat anything of my enemies. In this world, there are no eternal enemies, only temporary friends, Yang Qiuzhong said, observing Hung Jun amusedly. Looks like the phoenix and the golden-winged great peng have not taught you all this before. They've kept you very well sheltered. What exactly do you want to say? Hung Jun narrowed his eyes. He felt that since Yang Qiuzhong had split Li Jinglong and him apart, he definitely had a motive. I only want to look at you, Yang Qiuzhong said seriously, and understand what kind of a person you've grown into. After all, you dad once wished for you to take me as your master. Hung Jun found this impossible to believe. What? Otherwise, before your parents died, why did you live in Chang'an? Yang Qiuzhong asked methodically. What a pity that 10 years ago, because of a single oversight of mine, I did not have my guard up against the preparations that Direnja had made, thus leaving myself one step short of success. As things stand now, you are already completely set in their teachings, and this fate of master and disciple cannot be continued. Hung Jun almost had a change of heart right in front of Yang Qiuzhong. There were many vague points about what had happened back then, and what Yang Qiuzhong had touched upon was exactly that part that he hadn't been able to sort through clearly. But when Yang Qiuzhong had seen him again after that, he had never brought up this matter. Yang Qiuzhong continued, 10 years ago, the magic for turning the 3 Hun into heart devils was brought up by none other than your father, Kong Xian. Otherwise, why would I put such effort into it? Hung Jun immediately widened his eyes, saying, that was my dad's. Yang Qiuzhong slowly nodded. He continued, Mara reincarnates once every 1,000 years, and the devil seed absorbs the resentment that has not become one with the world, thus turning into a devil. The first is the 3,000 nightmares of the world, the second is the persistence of loneliness and parting, while the third is all the regrets formed from hatred and unjust deaths. Every kind of resentment is born from those. In that moment, Hung Jun remembered the resentment that had issued forth when they had burned the foxes and purified Fei Ao, and when he himself, in Dunhuang, had used his devil energy to kill the snow woman and the plague god. So in Lushan's body, regrets formed from hatred and unjust deaths, Yang Qiuzhong said slowly. You have to understand, for an old man who has lived for over 1,000 years to carry such pain, without the protection of the heart lamp like you have, is a very uncomfortable thing. Hung Jun, don't say that it's for the sake of saving my life, I won't believe it, Xiaoyu. Why did you want to turn into a devil? Yang Qiuzhong studied Hung Jun silently, before replying, of course it was not for you, but for myself. Hung Jun, have you ever suffered the pain of being imprisoned at the bottom of a tower for almost 1,000 years? Hung Jun immediately fell quiet. There was no future, no passage of time, Yang Qiuzhong said slowly. In the endless darkness and emptiness, all you can feel is yourself and the seals around you, and you are unable to move. You don't have a future, you can only continuously mull over your own past. This is everything that the humans have done to me. Yang Qiuzhong studied Hung Jun's expression, and he slowly began to chuckle. He continued, your companion, Chu Yongxi, is still searching for my whereabouts. He wants to lock me back up in there. Before that, it was you who committed such heinous crimes. Hung Jun said. I was simply living out my days in the Yangtze River, Yang Qiuzhong said. Humans ate the fish and shrimp in the water, and I ate the humans on the bank. What crime was committed there? A wave of dizziness washed over Hung Jun, and he felt that he had no way to argue with Yang Qiuzhong. I know that you won't be able to accept the truth at the moment, Yang Qiuzhong said, so I'll leave it at that for now, disciple. I'm not your disciple. Hung Jun raged. Yang Qiuzhong replied, there will always come a day where you will change your mind and recognize the supposed ugliness and evil of this world. Before then, he leaned slightly, facing Hung Jun, as he said earnestly, go back and think about it well, and once you've thought it through, then come find me. Hung Jun, Yuan Kun cannot save you. Only I can. End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 92. A series of interconnected events. In the amber of Lanling wine shop, the members of the exorcism department had already returned. After the car Piao got separated from A Tai and Hung Jun in the royal gardens, it discovered a very important clue. Since the ancestors of the Li family had appeared, causing a great ruckus in the palace, the car Piao climbed up onto the rooftops to look around. It was originally chasing after them, searching for Hung Jun's whereabouts, but it hadn't expected that the silhouettes of the Gunao would appear behind the wall of Xingqing Palace. They were two of the four amongst wine, lust, greed, and pride. When the two Gunao left, one mentioned to the other, the Devil King ordered our third brother to go chase Yuan Kun, but who knows if it's managed to catch him. We must act quickly to prevent any new problems from cropping up. When Li Jinglong heard that, he made no comment, instead explaining to the assembled group that Xiaoyu's identity was that of Yang Qiuzhong, as well as what had happened in the palace. The rest of them then offered up their own information. Origin and Ashinakayang had stood guard outside the Yang Manor for the entire night, but found no further clues. A Tai explained Li Guinayan's identity to everyone else. Lu Su and Chu Yangxi had discovered that two of the Yao generals under An Lushan's command had exited the city that very night and left Chang'an, heading to an unknown destination. The group fell into a thoughtful silence for a while. Li Jinglong had long since known that the words Yang Qiuzhong had spoken were exaggerated to frighten them into believing that he had a hostage in his grasp, so that they would seriously consider his conditions. But Hung Jun hadn't returned, which did cause him some worry. Xiaoyu's identity is clear, Chu Yangxi said, so now matters are quite a bit simpler. Since he dares to reveal himself to us, Li Jinglong added, he must have long been prepared. With how things stand now, the Yao King is definitely not easy to deal with. Haven't you guys noticed something? Origin said, after thinking about it for a moment. Aside from An Lushan, Xiaoyu has a foothold in the palace with his identity as Yang Qiuzhong, but at his side, or it'd be better to say, under his command, there are no more Yaogwai for him to order around. Li Jinglong nodded and said, as of right now in Chang'an, he has no subordinates. An Lushan's arrival has already proven that he has at least 4 subordinates, and when it comes to fighting power, Xiaoyu has perhaps already lost in that aspect. Ashinakayang pointed out, perhaps it's exactly because of this that Jiao had no choice but to ask for your help. Just at that moment, Hung Jun returned. When he lifted up the hanging curtain leading to the inside of the wine shop, everyone was astonished. Hung Jun. Are you all right? Hung Jun's expression seemed to be a little tired, but he smiled towards the rest of them, gesturing for them to rest assured. Li Jinglong studied Hung Jun worriedly, and Hung Jun nodded lightly at him. Li Jinglong was silent for a long while, before having Hung Jun sit down by his side and saying, Xiaoyu is lying to us. That's only natural, Chu Yangxi said. This Black Jiao is cunning and duplicitous, and he will not honor any of the promises that he makes now. Hung Jun was a little out of it. His ears still rang with that sentence that Yang Qiuzhong had spoken to him before he left the Yang Manor. Tell me, what did Yuan Kun let you see? Hung Jun didn't know why Yang Qiuzhong cared so much about Yuan Kun. Ever since he was a child, he had only heard of the Kun god from Qingxiang. But back then, according to what Qingxiang had said, Yuan Kun was the one who had given the heart lamp to him. Now that he thought about it, everything that happened seemed to have occurred as if it was part of a grander, hidden plan. Yuan Kun gave him the heart lamp through Qingxiang. Hung Jun went down the mountain, arrived in Chang'an, and met Li Jinglong. It was also coincidentally that on that night, the heart lamp was absorbed by Li Jinglong. Li Jinglong and him fell in love with each other, and in the end, he used the heart lamp to temporarily seal away his devil seed. Everything seemed to be interconnected, directing his destiny to some destination in the cycle of causes and effects. And after the Fox Yao was subdued, Yuan Kun had appeared for the first time in Chang'an, revealing one of his great powers as a Yao King, the power to predict the future. The golden-winged Great Peng can understand the heart of any person, while the Kun god of the Northern Sea can predict the future, the Carp Yao said, its voice breaking through Hung Jun's thoughts. Perhaps Mara wants to know what will happen in the future. In the midst of his thoughts, Hung Jun raised his head, his gaze suddenly meeting Li Jinglong's. He then looked towards the Carp Yao, before asking, "Does the Kun god know what events will happen in the future?" The Carp Yao replied, "Legend has it that he can let every person see their future, but not very accurately. The destinies of humans can be changed at times." Hung Jun. But Yuan Kun hadn't shown him anything, so Yang Qiuazhong's question was one that Hung Jun had no answer to. Lu Su watched Hung Jun worriedly, asking, "Nothing's wrong, right?" Hung Jun hurried to shake his head and force a smile Lu Su's way. In reality, it was as if some information was slowly growing clearer in his mind. Li Jinglong thought for a long while, before saying, "The news that Zhao Zilong has brought back is very useful. The Kun god came to Chang'an not long ago, and under circumstances unknown to us, fought a battle with Xiaoyu. For him to send the Kun god away, and have wounded him at that," the Carp Yao added, "Xiaoyu must have some powerful artifact. You guys must not provoke him." Li Jinglong had crossed his arms as he thought, and at this moment he raised a hand, saying earnestly, "I imagine that he must have been wounded pretty heavily, so we must come up with a way to find him." "I'll go," Mo Rijin said. Li Jinglong said, "I'll go, right now my identity is that of a wanted fugitive." But just as he said that, Longwu troops arrived outside to search. There was a brief period of chaos, and someone shouted, "Li Jinglong is a wanted criminal on the run. Immediately subject yourselves to a search." "Why is it that they've come as soon as we spoke of them?" A Tai was torn between laughter and tears. Li Jinglong's mouth twitched, but just as he was about to go hide, the sound of a whip cracking came from outside, and the Longwu troops that were conducting a search immediately let out howls of pain, the men and horses falling into disarray. Along with those sounds came Tu Reindek's angered scolding, and though the members of the exorcism department hadn't befallen the business end of her whip, upon hearing those pitiful cries, they couldn't help the tingling fear that crept over their scalps. After a moment of silence, Li Jinglong began to calmly assign them duties amidst the pained cries. "Hung Jun and I will go to Luoyang to find out where the Gunao went," Li Jinglong said. "We'll use the Gunao as hostages to force An Lushan to reveal his true form. You all will be in charge of figuring out what artifact he's using to protect his heart devil, and finding out a way to destroy it, or..." A Tai wanted to speak but immediately caught himself. However, Li Jinglong instantly noticed that detail. "Will you be in charge of all of that?" Li Jinglong asked A Tai. Everyone looked towards A Tai, who thought deeply for a long time, before nodding slightly. Li Jinglong asked A Tai, "Do you believe that you can handle it?" A Tai responded quietly, "I don't know, but I'll do my best." "What about me? What about me?" the Carp Yao asked. "Stay," Li Jinglong replied. "I want to go." I said, "Stay." After a bout of arguing, Hung Jun said, "Zhao Zilong, you stay." Since Hung Jun had spoken, the Carp Yao could only obey. Li Jinglong swept his gaze over the gathered group and pondered for a moment. Mo Rijin asked, "If everything goes well, then when will we turn the tables? How will we turn the tables? Where will we turn the tables?" Li Jinglong considered for a moment, before slowly replying, "On the imperial consort's birthday. At that time, I will bring the Gunao in to reveal their true forms, surrounding An Lushan right at the scene to force him to reveal his true form. As for the specific process, we must discuss that after the Yaogwai fall into our net." Everyone nodded. Hung Jun suddenly thought of something, and he asked, what if An Lushan doesn't reveal his true form and instead allows those two Gu now under his command to die? Then I'll use the heart lamp to purify him, Li Jinglong said decisively, just like what we did in Dunhuang. As long as he loses the artifact protecting him, I have a handle on forcing him out. Hung Jun was silent at that as he recalled that battle in Dunhuang. The devil seed in his body seemed to have an innate power to control devil qi, no matter whose body the devil qi was in, or even if it wandered freely through the world. As long as he wanted to absorb it, he would be able to, at any time, in any place. If he absorbed An Lushan's devil qi into his body as well, this would be the easiest way to destroy the enemy. Hey, Li Jinglong said to Hung Jun, what are you thinking? Hung Jun immediately sat up straight and said, nothing much. Everyone looked towards Hung Jun, who thought, are my thoughts that easy to guess it? Why is it that everyone knows what I'm thinking? Li Jinglong said hesitantly, you'll come with me, oh well, set off as soon as you can, Tai. Originally, Li Jinglong wanted to have a chat with Hung Jun, but thinking of how as soon as they mounted their horses, they would be heading off to Luoyang, and then they would have all the time they needed. He then rose and gestured for Tai to follow him. The exorcism department was temporarily barred from entering their building because of the investigation, so they could only take up residence for now in the wine shop. Hun Gun and Lu Su came to the backyard, only to see the Carpiao helping him pack for the trip. Just now, Yang Qiuzhong had given Li Jinglong time, allowing him to take out quite a lot of their belongings from the exorcism department. Upon seeing this scene, Hung Jun suddenly had a strong sense of foreboding. I feel like the fate that brought the exorcism department together has almost run its course, Hung Jun said. Don't say that. Lu Su's expression changed. The Carpiao added, Hung Jun, don't think about such nonsense. Hung Jun looked back to Lu Su, before suddenly asking, can you make me dream of the past? Lu Su thought for a moment, before replying, you've changed your mind. Hung Jun nodded earnestly. The words that Yang Qiuzhong had spoken to him today had caused him to remember things from his own childhood, and for unknown reasons, he kept feeling as if everything was almost at an end, as if his own life was about to reach a conclusion as well. Lu Su replied, Hung Jun, do not. Hung Jun, however, sat down willfully on the bed, turning his head to look towards Lu Su. Xiaoyu told me that the Kun God possesses a strong power, which is to let every person foresee their future, Hung Jun said. But the Kun God has never let me see my own future. The future is not set in stone, the Carpiao replied. Master Xianzang told me that even if you know everything that is destined to happen, that may only be one of a multitude of futures. Once you know certain possibilities, that may influence your present, and that possibility will change accordingly as well. But the past is always set in stone, Hung Jun said. The past is not set in stone either, Lu Su suddenly said in response. Hung Jun. Lu Su replied, the past is insubstantial, the future is insubstantial, and the only thing that exists is the present. This was already beyond Hung Jun's understanding, but he still pressed forward stubbornly. Lu Su, let me dream of my past one more time. This is very important to me. Lu Su sighed and stood on the bed, facing Hung Jun. The fingers of his hands formed the vague shape of a tower, and the hair on his head immediately turned snow white as his body glowed with light. The Carpiao immediately let out a wah, and it slowly retreated. Hung Jun stared at Lu Su in astonishment, only to see that Lu Su's body seemed to grow as translucent and bright as a soul-taken physical form. A pair of short antlers sprouted from his forehead, the antlers that had been hacked off had yet to fully recover. I grant you peace, far from nightmares. Lu Su's voice grew hoarse. He pressed one hand on the back of Hung Jun's hand, before he laid down, tightly grasping his hand, lying down beside him. It was a different method compared to touching his forehead. This time, when Hung Jun closed his eyes, white light washed over him, piercing through the long-distant passageway of memories. All he heard was Liu Su's voice in his ear. I am by your side. Instantly, in that passageway, thousands of black flames revolved and rushed towards them. Hung Jun asked, what are those? With a simple wave of his hand, white light shot forth from Liu Su's hand, scattering the black flames rushing towards them, like a meteor shower. The flames, upon breaking apart, retreated and vanished. These are the nightmares that you absorbed not so long ago, Liu Su said. This passageway is the protective barrier created by the heart lamp. Hung Jun's consciousness slowly grew quiet. The white light flashed in front of his eyes again, and he and Liu Su rushed out of the passageway. In front of them was a torrential rainstorm, but compared to last time, Hung Jun found that he was no longer in his own younger body, but had rather become a white soul floating in the air, just like Liu Su. And his body seemed to regain the outfit that he had worn before in Yaojin Palace, a battle robe, behind which was fluttering 7 peacock plumes. Liu Su's entire body was glowing with white light, and the antlers on his head flashed every now and then. No matter what happens, do not let go of my hand, Liu Su reminded him. Hung Jun widened his eyes. Under the pelting rain, Kong Xian used his magic fire to boil a basin of water, while within the house came a bright sob. Just at that moment, Yang Qiuzhong pushed open the door and entered the room. Upon seeing that, Hung Jun immediately grew agitated, and the entire dreamscape trembled. Liu Su immediately said, Hung Jun, keep a hold on your inner heart. This time, Hung Jun was floating in the air as a soul, observing his own dreamscape. It was not the same as last time, where he had directly entered the body of himself in the dream. Any slight change in his thoughts, and the dream would be on the verge of shattering. It only maintained its form because Liu Su was using all his energy to hold it. Dad! Hung Jun! With an enraged cry from Liu Su, Hung Jun came back to his senses, and he struggled to maintain his calm. The dreamscape slowly grew blurry, and the seasons changed from winter to summer, then from summer to winter. Pure white snow swiftly took form all around them, turning into the scenery of the area outside the general's estate in Yumen City. Kong Xian carried little Hung Jun, still in swaddling cloths, on his back. Little Hung Jun was no more than a year old, and he was wrapped well in the cotton cloth. His little face was bright red from the cold as he let Kong Xian carry him out the door. Hung Jun said, I see my uncle. But Liu Su said, come with me. Liu Su held Hung Jun's hand, flying over the vast snowy plains, following behind Kong Xian speeding across the land on horseback. The scenery faded around them as they came to the foot of the snowy white mountains. The light in the night sky was breathtakingly beautiful, and the Milky Way stretched across like a belt, while the white deer trod upon particles of light amongst the starry road, gently racing through the air into the distance. That's you, Hung Jun said, smiling. Liu Su ned. But in the next instant, there was a roar of a jiao that echoed through the sky, and the black jiao came slithering over, biting the white deer. Kong Xian swiftly raised his head, turning the head of the horse and heading towards the village. Hung Jun was very anxious, and he and Liu Su looked towards the horizon. Right after that, Kong Xian flew out into the night sky, his dark blue robes glowing with a twinkling golden belt. Battle armor covered his body, and he flew into the sky, engaging that black jiao in battle. This was the first time that Hung Jun had seen his father take on the true form of Mahamayuri, and he immediately widened his eyes. The you who has lost the seed of Mara no longer has the power of gods and demons in a single body, the black jiao roared. Kong Xian replied, his voice raised, and the you who only has one hun, we're in the same boat, you and I. The black jiao let out a pained cry, before it turned and left. The white deer that it was tearing apart in its mouth let out a death cry, and it turned into points of light that dissipated. A beam of white light circled and flew towards the village at the foot of the snowy mountains. Kong Xian raced after the black jiao, which had gone in that direction, only to hear once more the wailing of an infant. There was a flash of light, and Hung Jun and Liu Su stood, holding hands, in Liu Su's old home. Kong Xian was currently helping Liu Su's mother deliver her child, and he bathed that newborn infant. Little Hung Jun pressed down on Kong Xian's shoulder as he got shakily to his feet, staring at the newly born Liu Su. Hung Jun and Liu Su were silent for a long time. A while later, Liu Su took Hung Jun with him and flew away, coming to the heights of the Majao caves. There, they saw Kong Xian carrying little Hung Jun as usual, sitting at the top of the caverns, having a discussion with the Ghost King. He loved you, Liu Su suddenly said. Hung Jun and his emotions very complicated. After learning of the truth, he had once hated his father, had hated Chongming, had hated Qing Xiang, but no matter how much his hatred, it was pointless against the passage of time. However, when he saw his father taking care of him and thinking of every possible way to make up for his mistake, a wave of grief welled up in his heart. End chapter.